You're listening to the Third Down Squad podcast, the best international news podcast for the National Football League. We're your hosts, Derek, Josh, and Toby. Let's get you ready for new set downs on Sunday.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Third Down Squad podcast. And if you've watched any of the recent episodes, you'll notice there's something different about this one. We have our third man here, Josh Neat. Say hello, Josh.
Hi, I'm sorry my internship was preventing me from being a part of the past two podcasts.
We accept your apology, Josh. It's okay. We know you got stuff going on. But anyway, we just finished week 6 of the NFL. A lot of interesting things happened this week. I ended up going 7-7 on games this week. So again, not a very good week for me. In reality, it really wasn't that great of a week for any of us. Toby and Josh both finished with a week of 8-6. So not too much better for them either. So now,
but we're catching
the overall records. He's trying to catch up. Toby's trying to catch me. He's trying. Anyway, overall records that we have right now, 56-34-1 for me. Toby increases his lead his second place with a 54-36-1, and Josh is still one game behind with a 53-37-1. So pretty close.
The Broncos,
still,
Josh. It's the Broncos game.
The freaking Broncos. Anyway, yeah. So here we go. We're gonna go break down each one of these games. Again, guys, let's try to keep this at 30 seconds at maximum for each of us here, real quick. First game, Giants and the Patriots. Toby, go ahead and start it.
Yeah, like we said, without Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, or Saquon Barkley, the Giants did not have a chance. And of course, the Patriots, again, doing it with their defense and not on offense. I think Tom Brady might actually feel the sign of the time by now. So, Josh.
Yeah, definitely. It was just the Patriots' defense there. Tom Brady did enough to make sure his defense got rested. I'm pretty sure the Patriots, the way they're playing right now, they're going to make it to the Super Bowl. No doubt about that.
Yeah, they look really good. We all kind of expected the Patriots to do what they did. Giants made it a very good game for the first quarter and a half, and then the Patriots just started dominating on special teams, and then that just leaked for the rest of the team to just start going crazy. So ultimately, that's kind of what we expected. Next game, Panthers versus the Buccaneers, the Sunday game in London, where the Panthers and the Buccaneers, the Panthers had a very unorthodox play where they caught the ball at midfield and with 1 second left, decided to let their kicker kick from the 50-yard line on a kickoff formation where they ended up not getting the field goal anyway, had the distance just too far to the right. But either way, Panthers did a really good job. They, again, forced 5 turnovers on the Buccaneers. And then the Panthers had a really good game again with Christian McCaffrey. Toby, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, we saw the first free kick since 2008 in the NFL. Unfortunately, it wasn't good. But, yeah, I kind of disagree with Christian McCaffrey. He didn't have the greatest of games. Of course, the Buccaneers have a great run defense. But Kyle Allen right now, we got to talk about Cam Newton, and when he's coming back, I think Cam Newton might be the backup for the Panthers.
Yeah, might be. Josh?
Yeah, the defense for the Panthers came to play with 5 picks, and that's mostly because they're going up against Jameis Winston, but not to take anything away from them, because you had Gerald McCoy just coming right up the middle and just getting to Jameis Winston and the various Buccaneers running backs. And yeah, I think that we could potentially see Cam Newton getting traded for to another team later on this week, or maybe even at the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. And the game that nobody wanted to watch because we called it Pat McAfee called it the Trash Fest. The Redskins versus the Dolphins, where the Redskins pull out a near victory. Again, how we kind of mentioned how the Redskins have been trying not to tank this season, but yet still only got their first win against the winless Dolphins, who are trying to tank right now. only positive thing you can say about this game, Terry McLaurin had himself another really good game. So that's pretty much it. Josh, what were your thoughts on this game?
That the Dolphins, they just let him walk into that touchdown at the end. They had that, but then they're like, do we really want the first pick? And they're like probably thinking, yeah, we do. So they probably just let him walk in. But yeah, Terry McLaurin, spectacular game again. Once again, he's going to be he could be offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, I think so. Tobi?
Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins had the chance at the end of the game with the 2-point conversion to win that game, but you can call it a bad play call all you want. I still am convinced that they actually played that way they did because they didn't want to win that game. They knew it wouldn't work, and that's why they call that play, to not get that 2-point conversion and in the end win the game. I'm pretty much convinced of that.
If any team loses to the Dolphins at any point this year, they should be ashamed of themselves. So we're just going to say that. Next game, Saints versus the Jaguars. We'll get into that obviously here in a little bit when Tobi breaks down that game. But Saints, in a very low-scoring game, were able to win the game again, basically giving nothing to the Jaguars on offense. And Saints didn't get much going until the second half either, but were able to pull out the win nonetheless. Tobi, your quick thoughts.
Yeah, the Saints struggled a little bit, but what helped them in the end was the defense in this game. And they actually held Gardner Minshew. I think it was his first bad game that he had this year. So it was pretty well played on defense. The offense, not so much.
Josh?
Yeah, I'm with Tobi on this one. The Saints defense did a lot to help make sure that the Saints won this game. Michael Thomas had an okay game. It's not like one of his best games because there was no Jalen Ramsey, because we'll get into that. But he still only had 9 receptions for 96 yards in that game, something along those lines.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think he could have done a little bit better. The Saints offense could have spread the ball out a little bit better, but a win's a win, and I'm pretty sure Tobi will tell us more.
Yep, and it's not always pretty. We always know that.
Yep.
Next game, Bengals versus the Ravens. Lamar Jackson continued to show why he's the most versatile quarterback in the entire NFL at this moment. Again, Ravens win convincingly at home. Not much more to say about it other than the fact that the Ravens beat a really bad Bengals team. Tobi, what did you think?
Yeah, they beat them. It was a 6-point win in the end, 23-17 for the Ravens. But I think right now you got to beat the Bengals more if you are really that good of a team as the Ravens were at the beginning of the season. So, yeah, they beat them, but I'm still a bit worried about that defense. But, of course, that changed with the trades that unfolded this week. We're going to talk about that later, of course. But, yeah, Josh.
Yeah, I honestly think that the Bengals are in the same mindset as the Dolphins in wanting to tank this season. It's only going to see who's going to tank harder, because the Bengals have all their offensive line is still hurt. They got Jonah Williams in the draft, but he's out for the season. Andy Dalton, they can tell that the team gave up on him, and he's given up on the team as well. So I think the Bengals and the Dolphins are going to come down to who gets the first pick between those two teams.
All right, next game, Seahawks versus the Browns. Now, I watched this game personally, guys, and
I did too.
Let me just tell you, this Browns team got screwed on so many times, okay? And they somehow still managed to keep it close. But in the end, the Seahawks won. Russell Wilson, again, looked phenomenal. He could do no wrong, and the Seahawks were able to figure it out. That Browns really did exploit what the Seahawks' problem is on their defense, and that is the run defense, which we're definitely going to get into here a little bit this week for the Ravens and Seahawks game. But nonetheless, Seahawks pull it out close. Tobi, what did you think?
Yeah, like you said, the Browns got screwed over a bunch of times in that game. But it kind of feels like we're talking every week about the Browns either being a good team or one of the worst teams in the league. They're kind of the biggest up and down team that we have in the NFL right now. But yeah, being at home against the Seahawks, like you said, Nick Chubb had an amazing game against the run defense of the Seattle Seahawks. So yeah, I like that game. The Seahawks, of course, like you said, with Russell Wilson right now, they got better on the offensive line this year. So I have a lot of things that I expect from the Seahawks coming in the next couple of weeks.
Josh?
Russell Wilson showed that he's an MVP, and I think he's about to overtake Patrick Mahomes because he's 12 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. And his play is really showing why he should be considered the MVP. But yeah, like you said, the Browns got screwed in that game. We could say that till the cows come home. It's not going to change anything. But Nick Chubb, with all the star power around the Browns offense right now, I think Nick Chubb has truly made his own way through this team because he's just out there. He plays football. He doesn't talk anything. And I know it's like the personality of like Baker Mayfield and all that everybody, just doesn't like. But Nick Chubb, for me, he's pretty much the glue holding that team together on offense. Otherwise, without him, it's just going to crumble because they need him for the run game.
All right, next game, Eagles versus the Vikings. I was the only one to pick the Eagles, so I got screwed out of this one. Vikings have, ever since Kirk Cousins has gotten called out by his wide receivers, he has been producing like there's no tomorrow, and definitely has to because his job's on the line for a lot of people. But anyway, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs both had themselves phenomenal games. The Vikings pretty much trounced the Eagles for most of this game. Josh, what were your opinions on it?
That calling somebody out does a lot of positive. Because remember, we're talking about how Stephon Diggs wanted to get traded. Is he talking about getting traded now? No, he shut his mouth, and actually, because Kirk Cousins is finally getting him the damn ball. So it's a good thing that they lit a fire under Kirk Cousins, because after the season, he would have been out, and they would be drafting a new quarterback.
Toby?
Yeah, we see it in the road and home game split here. The Vikings are a different team when they're playing at home, especially when they play like they did the last 2 games, like you guys already mentioned. They completely changed the way they play the game. They are passing a lot more. 2 games ago, it was Adam Thielen catching a lot of passes. In this game against the Eagles, it was especially Stephon Diggs who had one of the biggest games he ever had. But if the Vikings continue to play like that, the NFC North is, I think, one of the most competitive, or for sure the most competitive division right now in the NFL.
All right, the big game, Texans versus the Chiefs. Everyone wanted to see if this was the Chiefs' bounce-back game, especially with Tyreek Hill being back. But unfortunately, there was no such luck in Arrowhead. Texans beat the Chiefs in a close one, making it the second straight week that an AFC South opponent has beaten the Chiefs in Arrowhead. We all picked the Chiefs to win this one, so that one kind of stunk. But again, Deshaun Watson had himself another great game. Toby, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think right now with all the injuries on the Chiefs, that one of the two most important things that you need on your team right now to beat the Chiefs are the 2 lines, either an offensive line or a defensive line. Those are the 2 key things right now, and of course we saw it with the Colts the week before, and right now against the Texans as well. If you can get Patrick Mahomes under a little bit of pressure, he cannot always make those miracle throws that he did last year and for the first couple of weeks this year. And with an offensive line, you just can't protect your quarterback and your run play against a depleted defensive front of the Kansas City Chiefs. And we saw it a week ago against the Colts and against the Houston Texans as well. Running backs have an easy time against the Chiefs right now when you have a decent offensive line play.
Josh?
Yeah, I think when we get when we think of the Chiefs, and we're like thinking that it's like greatness, but it's just Patrick Mahomes. The entire like team of the Chiefs, they suck. Plain and simple, right now, they suck. And it's only Patrick Mahomes that's bailing it out, and he's getting hurt. It's slowly showing and eating away at him. The defense is horrendous. The run defense, especially, because as you saw with both the Colts and the Texans, they ran it down those Chiefs' damn throats, and they could not do anything to stop it. So, I personally don't think the Chiefs are the number one, or should be considered anywhere near the top 5, let alone top 10 of the NFL right now, because it's only Patrick Mahomes. Without Patrick Mahomes, this team is done for. So, this shows that, look, it doesn't matter how intimidating Arrowhead is. If the Chiefs suck, they're going to suck and lose.
Yep. Wow, that's a very hot take right there. Chiefs not being in the top 10. Wow. Very interesting topic there. Anyway, next game that we have is the Falcons versus the Cardinals. This was, again, another close game, but the Cardinals pulled this one out 33-34. I think the Falcons are kind of in the same boat right now as the Chiefs. Defense looks absolutely horrendous. And I don't know what more Matt Ryan can wish of this team. I'm actually getting frustrated because it's like Matt Ryan had almost a perfect game that week. Almost perfect. And yet somehow, some way, they can't beat the Cardinals. The Cardinals of all teams. So, again, another game where the Falcons show disappointment. Josh, what were your thoughts on this one?
It's what happens when you go too heavy in offense. Your defense starts to hurt. So, in this draft, they paid more attention to the offense than the defense. And you saw it in their first round picks by drafting 2 offensive linemen for Matt Ryan, which, you need. But you also need to pay attention to the defensive side. And that defense, if you're like 90 offense and like 10 defense, you're not going to win anything. And it's proving right now, because you're going to have your offense score more times than the opposing offense. But with a defense like this for the Falcons, that opposing team is going to run away with it. And that's pretty much what happened this Sunday, when you really think about it. The Cardinals ran away with it.
Yeah, Josh summed it up pretty well. The Falcons right now are concentrating too much on offense, and like Josh already said, they focused on the draft on the offensive line. It's understandable. You have 2 great defenses in the NFC South and one pretty good one with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, yeah, you want to protect your big investment in Matt Ryan, but you can't just go offense in your playing style. You need a defense, and they remind me of a Saints team of between 2013 and 2015. Those, 7 and 9 years for the Saints. It was pretty bad. No defense at all, but all on offense. That's what I'm comparing the Falcons to right now.
All right, next game, which I think a lot of people did not see this one coming. The 49ers versus the Rams. The 49ers held the Rams to maybe the worst game that has ever come into the Rams program as long as Sean McVay has been there. The Rams could not do anything offensively. Jared Goff finished with 77 yards of total passing yards and only completed 13 catches. He was almost sacked as many times as he has completed catches. They can't run the ball right now. Their offensive line is as depleted as it's ever been. They went into that game with only 7 active offensive linemen, and they were down to 5 in that game. Their starting line was the only ones that they had left. And the 49ers took advantage of it, and they beat them in every way. The only mistake that they really made was throwing a interception to Marcus Peters in the end zone early in the game, and we all know Marcus Peters is no longer part of the Rams anymore. Anyway, Toby, go ahead.
Yeah, like you said, the Rams are pretty much down to their teeth with their offensive line right now, and it shows with Jared Goff The last 2 years under Sean McVay, they had one of the best offensive lines in the game, and that helped Jared Goff to keep the ball in his hand a little bit longer, and of course also Todd Gurley, and it shows. And right now, Jared Goff is getting pressured. It's kind of like the first year that Jared Goff was in the NFL under Jeff Fisher. It reminds me a lot of that right now. So I expect those numbers to not improve that much right now. And because of that, I'm still not that convinced of the 49ers that they are actually they are a good team, don't get me wrong, but they, in my opinion, should not be undefeated after 6 weeks.
All right, well, you're gonna not like how I respond to that. Josh, go ahead.
Okay, is that Joe Montana or is that Jimmy Garoppolo out there? Because, man, is he dropping dimes like Montana?
I know, right?
Oh, man. It's kind of weird being a part of a generation that never saw what the Niners looked like back in the 80s and 90s under Montana and Young. But we're getting a little bit of a taste with that with this 49ers team. It's amazing what happens when you finally get Bosa, Buckner, and finally letting Solomon Thomas become defensive tackle, the one he was meant to play.
Yep.
Yeah. See what happens when you do that? Your defensive line is unstoppable. There you go. And not to mention the play of Quan Alexander. He's doing pretty well at his middle linebacker position for the Niners. But the Rams, Goff had that's probably, like you said, his most statistically worst game he ever played and probably will ever play in the NFL. Because if you just throw for 77 yards, that's like a high school quarterback who just got thrown into the game after the starter got hurt. Come on.
That will never win you a football game. You will never win a football game only throwing 77 yards, especially when you can't run the ball either.
Is that Todd Gurley? Why is he not in L.A.? They're not even using him. He's outside right now. Come on, you got to use Todd Gurley. I finally found him. Use him, Rams.
They could use him if he was even healthy. I mean, he keeps getting re-injured. And, I mean, Malcolm Brown, don't get me wrong, is a very talented running back. I think he's shown that he can run. But, again, when you have a depleted offensive line like the Rams do and you're going up against a solid defensive line like the 49ers have, it's almost impossible to get that sort of thing going. So, anyway, on to the next game. Titans versus the Broncos. The Titans got shut out in this one. The Broncos destroyed the Titans in this game, not by just your score, but just by the determination to destroy Marcus Mariota. It got so bad to the point that Mariota was forced to come off the field, and Ryan Tannehill got his first playing time of the year. That certainly didn't help much either. I want to make sure I get the number of sacks right on here because I want to remember. But I think Tobi might know. But if he doesn't, I'm going to look it up. Well. I'm going to go look it up. But go ahead, guys.
Josh, you go first.
All right, yeah. So, Marcus Mariota, he's trash. He can't do anything.
It was about
time.
By the way, I'm sorry for everyone. I'm sorry about that.
I honestly thought when they traded for Tannehill that they were going to start him immediately. I mean, Mariota and Winston. Oh my gosh, wasn't that 2016 when they were drafted? Both of them
15,
suck.
I believe.
It was 15. Yeah, it was 15.
Both of them suck. They're both terrible. I'm surprised. Like, that's the worst QB draft I've ever seen in the first round. I mean, look, Mariota, he's a scrambling quarterback, but you got him in a drop back and pass one. People kind of forget how mobile he used to be when he was at Oregon. But then again, it was Oregon, and their offense was pretty unstoppable. But come on. And it's just Ryan Tannehill. You finally put him in. It's good for you. He's not hurt, so he can actually go in and play. But Derrick Henry, what the hell happened? I started you in fantasy over Carlos Hyde, and this is how you reward me?
I told you to start him. Hey, listen. You won anyway, so shut up, all right? You just won anyway.
Hold on. I'm not done with him. I'm not done with Derrick Henry yet. I'm not done with him. I thought you were supposed to run angry. I thought Eddie George was supposed to help you. No. Von Miller made you his bitch. Come on, Mark, Derrick Henry. Get out there and start running fast. Jesus.
Are you good? Are you
I'm
good,
good
now?
now. I'm good now. I ain't never been more disappointed in him ever.
I think we're done with this game.
All right, yeah, I think we are. Just two things here, quick, folks. Two notes. Ryan Tannehill is starting in the next game here this week. So we might take that into account. But the Denver Broncos had 7 sacks in this game. 7. That was more sacks in this game than they had in the first 4 games combined. It's absolutely hilarious. Anyway, last 3 games here. We're starting to ramble a little bit. This is another game where we all picked the certain team and they lost. The Cowboys versus the Jets. The Jets decided to turn on the Jets real early, no pun intended, and they went ahead and destroyed the Cowboys in the first half. Cowboys tried to come back and finish the game, but they just couldn't catch up quick enough. And the Jets get their first win of the season. Tobi, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do when you get your starting quarterback back. You actually become a decent team once again, as is the case with the Jets. And the Cowboys kind of fell back to being the Cowboys. And there was no offense, no defense. There was nothing in the first half coming from the Cowboys. It was, I don't know what they did. That first half, it was just like, yeah, we're out there warming up. It's not game time yet. We're about 2 hours late to this, but okay. So yeah, I mean, Jets took advantage of that and held it into the second half.
Josh?
Here I go again. I'm not going to get as heated. This goes out to those Cowboy fans that listen. You and Michigan fans have a lot in common. Apparently, you guys love mediocrity. It's time to get rid of Jason Garrett, bring in some fresh blood. Because your Cowboys, they started out hot, and now look at them. They're trash. They are straight garbage. You lost to the Jets. You lost to the Jets. And Sam Darnold, he's probably still busy. He's probably still dizzy from the antibiotics he took before he got out on the field. And he still did better than you guys. Come on. You got Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, you got Zeke and all that. He's good. But this is the Jets defense. I mean, they're pretty decent, but come on. It's the Jets. Your defense couldn't stop.
Clip that, Tobi. It's the Jets.
They are good. All right, go ahead.
Another note real quick. I don't deny anything there, Josh, but I do think a lot more of the blame here is also on Dak Prescott. I'm not too quick to say. It is obviously a lot of Jason Garrett's fault because Garrett needed to get them motivated. He should have had them prepared, and he did not have them prepared in the first half. And we obviously saw the clip of them not wanting to shake his hand at all. That's obviously something that's of a concern. But Dak Prescott, conveniently enough, when Amari Cooper's not in the game, Dak Prescott just turns to shit. I mean, it's just conveniently enough. But anyway, we're going to move on. Last 2 games here.
It'd be a waste of money.
This is the 3rd straight game in a row where we all picked the same team and they lost. Steelers went into LA and destroyed the Chargers, especially in that first half. Devin Bush had 2 turnovers in the first 2 drives of the game. The Steelers didn't even have to target Juju Smith-Schuster in this game, and they still destroyed them on both offense and defense. The Chargers look like an absolute mess right now, and the Steelers, even on their 3rd-string quarterback, look like they finally have figured something out. They finally figured out a winning recipe. Josh, we'll have you start with that one.
Wow. Yeah. So what happened to that Chargers team at week 1? The one that beat the Colts in overtime. I mean, granted, they got lucky because we, blew that running, but they're They're the Steelers. They're the Steelers without a Ben Roethlisberger or Antonio Brown. James Conner ran over your damn defense. What happened to Ingram and Bosa? Come on. They're supposed to be the best defensive linemen on each side. And yet James Conner marched his way into L.A. like he was off to go get a Hollywood script. Come on. All right. And then I'm telling you right now, Phillip Rivers, my God, change your name to Piss because you're pissing this season away. You're pissing Rivers. Come on. And not to mention, Melvin Ingram, he wants to get paid. He didn't look like he wanted to get paid at all. He's just like, well, I'm here so I don't get fined like Marshawn Lynch. Oh.
Tobi, do you even want to come?
No, I actually can't talk right now, I think.
Okay. Well, we got one more. I want to see if Josh has the same passion or not. But the Lions got beat by the Packers on a bunch of luck on the final drive of the game. The Packers take the lead and win in the comeback. Josh, we're going to start with you. We're going to see if the passion's there or not.
Lions? Yeah. I know a lot of your Lions fans say that you got screwed, by the referees and all that. But, you had a close game. You lost 23-22. But there's one last thing. Yeah, your defense couldn't stop any of the wide receivers or the tight ends. They had no Devontae Adams. It was just cut them off there, worry about Aaron Jones. You did worry about Aaron Jones, and he did pretty well. But you still had Aaron Rodgers without any weapons. I mean, come on. Carry on, Johnson. Use him. He got a touchdown for you. Apparently, they think Matthew Stafford's the second coming of Christ. But even Christ had his disciples. So let him hand off the football to carry on. Hand the ball off to carry on more often. He's there to help you. He's there to help you run the ball. Come on. Get Hawkinson involved again, too. You got a first-round pick. He's going to end up with the Colts in 4 years like Ebron did. So as a Colts fan, I'm happy for you guys in Detroit because we're going to get another tight end in 3 years.
I'm dying.
Yeah, Derek is dying over here.
We're just gonna move on. We're gonna go to another segment here. I think this will. Oh, I can't wait to watch this back. It's gonna be so much fun to watch. Anyway, all right, we're gonna move on since two of our teams did not have a game this week. The Colts had a bye week this week, but thankfully Tobi has this Saints game to talk about. We kind of already mentioned a little bit about it. But, Tobi, why don't you give us another in-depth analysis of this game?
Yeah, I mean, there's not going to be too much in-depth about this game. As I said, there is not much to talk about. Sorry, Derek is just barely alive here.
Yeah, my voice is a little bit raspy. I'm going to go get a walk.
But, yeah, as I said, there's nothing much to analyze about that Saints game. Of course, it was 13-6. Teddy Bridgewater had an awful first half to the game. It was a little bit surprising, but yeah, with that Jaguars defense, like I said last week, it's the first better defense that Teddy Bridgewater had to face since he had to start for the Saints. But he came back in the second half and pulled up the win with that one touchdown pass to Jared Cook, which was a great pass by Teddy Bridgewater. Jared Cook was the third option for Teddy in this scenario on this play. So having him open in the end of the back, in the back of the end zone was pretty important for them. The only bad thing that came out of this game with Jared Cook is that he is a little bit banged up. It's unsure if he can play this week against the Bears. The other injury was PJ Williams, the nickelback on defense. But I'm actually excited about that injury because my boy Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is going to probably get the snaps at a nickelback. Mm-hmm. So I have huge expectations of him. And also Alvin Kamara might be a little banged up as well. So it's not quite sure yet what status he has going into the Sunday game. They signed center just today off of Detroit. It might be a precaution that Alvin Kamara might not play, but even when you're looking back at what Latavius Murray was able to do in the game against the Jags, he had a couple of good runs in there. I'm not too worried about the run game. The other thing about the Saints that came out today is that Drew Brees is aiming for a Week 8 comeback against the Arizona Cardinals. He is back to throwing NFL-sized footballs again after his injury to his right-hand thumb. So it might be the last game of Teddy Bridgewater this week against the Bears.
All right. That was the in-depth analysis for the Saints. Now we're going to move on to another thing here where I might get really passionate about this one. I don't know about the rest of the guys. Josh might try to relax here, but this was a topic that Tobi was very wanting to talk about right now because he still holds that grudge from last year. But you all guessed it, and everyone has talked about it all week long. Officiating. Yes, it seems like every year we have to consistently keep talking about this. Here's what's going on right now, guys. Do you know that so far this year, there have been 60% more holdings called by this time this year from last year? And there's been 16% more penalties in the NFL this season than there was at this time last year. And they predict this number might even keep going up. And when we keep talking about the pass interference calls, there have been 40 reviews by NFL teams so far this season. Only 7 have been overturned and have been changed the opposite way. I'm pretty positive that's not close. There should have been a lot more. We can name 3 of them from this last week. But again, that's up for anyone else's interpretation. But Josh, we're going to start with you on this one. What is going on with officiating right now? What is it? What needs to be done here?
I think that what needs to be done is kind of yeah, I kind of blew my vocal cords out there for a second. But I think what needs to happen though is that stop the whole if you see it, call it mentality, you know? Because even if it looks like holding, you know, they still call it. But I think you got to try to help out these refs a little bit more as well. And I think getting new technology might help, but that's still ways off and expensive. But you could just tell that, and what bothers me is the whole, I'm going to tap Tom Brady on the top of the helmet like this and get a 15-yard roughing the passer penalty. That stuff has to stop. Because, like I'll bring back last year, Colts-Patriots game. Remember when, I think it was Anthony Walker, his hand came on and hit Tom Brady on the helmet. They got 15 yards for that. But when Andrew Luck got sacked by 3 Patriots players, it was just a normal sack, you know? It wasn't like he was speared into the dirt. There's got to be more of a fine line of what roughing the passer and what holding really is. Because, as you remember, the TY and the Chiefs, that one right there, yeah, that one could have been just a no call or anything other than that, you know? But, Tobi, let's hear what you got.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that there is a need to implement new technologies, that eye-in-the-sky technology that everyone is talking about right now. Of course, after that Detroit game, mostly. I think it's manageable. The NFL is the biggest fucking industry in the whole world, and you have 32 stadiums. It's not like there are teams that are changing, that are moving constantly, like in, I don't know, European soccer leagues or something. You have 32 fixed stadiums, or not even 32. I mean, the Giants are still sharing a stadium with the Jets. You got 31 stadiums in the NFL right now. You can put a couple of cameras in there. We have 3D views of every play right now on a review on the TV, where we can pick any angle to see the ball and the players in 3D right after the play. Why don't implement something like that on penalties? You have the technology right now. it costs a little bit. Yeah, I mean, you're building stadiums for, I don't know, I think the new LA stadium is worth $1.7 billion. Put 50 fucking cameras in there. That's about $1 million more you gotta spend. We need consistent penalty calling in the NFL. And like Josh said, it always is a difference if you sack a guy like Tom Brady or a no-name quarterback like a Devin Hodgins for the Steelers right now. The officials are gonna call it differently, and we see that, and that has to stop.
Yeah, and I'll just say this. This is an issue. This is an issue, and it has been growing and growing, and it's just been getting worse and worse. The boiling point of it all was last year when the Rams did not get a penalty call that screwed them out of a chance to win the Super Bowl or go to the Super Bowl. My apologies. And now they saw it, they heard the backlash, and they said, we're going to implement a system that is designed to help prevent that from happening again. I brought the stat up to you guys. We have the technology right now, and the refs still won't change it. I mean, that's the problem, is it's not the technology that's the issue. We see 3 or 4 different angles from a TV at home. 90% of the time, we can put in words what we think that call should be, and 90% of us would get it right from a TV at home. And you're telling me that the greatest technology right there at Microsoft from the headquarters of New York, these refs can't look at it or listen to somebody physically say it, that yes, it is 100% undisputed. That is not a hands to the face. That is not a roughing the passer. That is not a pass interference. But yet for some reason they don't want to change it. I don't understand. It's getting frustrating because Josh mentioned it for the Chiefs game against the Colts. That was not a pass interference. It's obvious. You look it up. It's not even, there's nothing that T.Y. Hilton did, but yet somehow you don't want to change it. I don't understand. Are the refs afraid of the change? Like, are they afraid to change calls because they think people are gonna get mad at them for changing the call? No, we're not going to get mad at you for changing the call. If it's the right call to make, that's the issue we're having here. Every single freaking play, we can make the right decision on every single one, every single time. Should not be an issue. I don't care if the games take longer. I don't think many people are going to complain as much about that down the road, as long as they know that the game is being called fairly and it's being called correctly. And even if we're not going to worry about that, let's kind of take that one out for a second. I mentioned how penalties are skyrocketing so far this year, and that's from just officials calling flags like it's no tomorrow. Like, that's not fun football. That's not fun. That stuff doesn't happen. We know it happens almost every single play, but unless you're definitively sure. And again, that Lions game last week on Monday, that showed you exactly it right there. There was twice they got screwed over because they were not called. And you know what? If the NFL is just going to keep pushing out apologies, then why not do something about it? You can't just keep apologizing to NFL fans like ourselves and say, oh, well, we apologize, so that should be enough for you. No, that's not enough. You need to do something about it. You either need to make these refs learn more about the game, tell them, look, guys, just stop calling as many penalties. Don't call the stuff unless it's blatantly obvious. Unless it's blatantly obvious, don't call it. But it's just so stupid, man. I mean, there's so many different reasons we can make this better for ourselves, but it just seems to not get fixed. And I'm sick and tired of talking about it because it's costing people games. It's costing them wins. It's going to cost their fans happiness. It's going to cost them money later on in seasons if they don't start working on it. These NFL refs get paid over $200,000 a year, plus pensions, plus 401ks, health insurance, everything. You guys get paid good money to get this stuff right. Get it right, please. That's all we ask. not every call is going to be perfect. We all know that. Not every single one, but you can still be so much better. It's just getting frustrating that's just what we have to keep coming to. All right, that was my emotional one for the day. Now let's move to another team here in the NFC East here, and it's going to be, or the NFC West, actually. The Rams, they made some big moves this week where they released Marcus Peters to the Ravens, and in the same day acquired Jalen Ramsey from the Jaguars for 2 first-round draft picks and a 4th-round draft pick as well. So now the big question here, and Tobi, we'll start with you, was this a good move by the Rams?
No. The Rams screwed themselves over. We talked about it. They needed help on the offensive line and on offense. Their defense is okay, and I don't see that need for Jalen Ramsey that much. I'd rather have kept Marcus Peters if I were the Rams, but that's just me. Of course, that giving up 2 first-round picks in the next 2 drafts, that's... I don't know what the plan is for the Rams with that. You need those 2 first-round picks. You eventually gotta need a new running back. If Turk Gurley doesn't get any help there in the next couple of weeks, you're probably gonna go for a running back in next year's draft. And you gotta go for an offensive lineman. And where you gonna get that right now? In the first round of a draft. So, yeah, for me, the Rams screwed themselves over, and I think they're not the lead team in the NFC West for the next coming years.
Mm-hmm.
Josh?
Isn't it Jalen Ramsey that always smack talked about other quarterbacks? You know? Well, I got one for you, Jalen. Sell out, baby back, cry baby. That's all you were. You were pouting. You're just a baby. You're an adult man baby. That's all you are. You wanted to get paid. Well, congratulations. Now every time you talk smack about a quarterback, they're just going to bring up the fact that you left just to get more money. You know? And all that makes you look like is just another hypocrite sellout. You know, this is not the NBA. We had this discussion before. This is not the NBA. If you give players an inch, they'll take a mile. Mm-hmm. At least in the NFL. NBA, that's a whole different story. We're an NFL channel, so we're not going to talk about it. But, and he grabbed 2 miles out of this whole thing. You know, he made up some illness that he wasn't ready to go. And clearly the Jags made 1 while the Rams lost. So Ramsey's not going to make a difference on this defense. He's just not. It's too porous on the offensive line. So this one just it doesn't make any sense for me. But if you're a Jags fan, you're happy because you get 2 first-round picks now. So yeah,
it's definitely an issue here. There's always that divine question, right? How much is a player worth? Certain positions are worth more than others. We all kind of had that big deal with Khalil Mack, and we wondered, did the Bears give up too much? Well, Jalen Ramsey, obviously one of the best corners in the game. There's no denying it, but in regards to the first-round picks, people tried to debate me on this and said, well, they're going to probably be late first-round picks anyway. I don't care. It's still a first-round pick. Whether it's the 32nd pick or the first pick, it doesn't matter. It's still first-round picks. Those are picks where you get some of the best players available. And to know for the next 2 years you're not going to get a first-round draft pick unless you trade somebody for a first-round draft pick, which I don't know if the Rams really want to do right now, is just odd. And I'm sorry, Rams, but you're not a Super Bowl contender at the moment. You're not the team you were last year. You're in shambles. Your offense doesn't seem to know how to run the same way it did. McVay looks like he's getting out-coached at times. The offensive line's crap. You don't have a great running back. Your defense is losing pieces. I mean, it just seems like a lot to try and get somebody that's not going to ultimately help you in the long run. I just don't think that that's the smartest thing that they could have possibly done. Obviously, I'm not saying it's a bad move because of the player they got. I'm just saying for the amount that they gave up. I wouldn't say Jalen Ramsey's worth 2 first-rounders and a 4th-rounder. I mean, people seem to forget the 4th-rounder. There's a lot of good players that get drafted out of the 4th round, just so everyone can be remembering that. That's 3 draft picks for the price of 1 guy, and we don't even know if he's going to actually help you in the long run. So, best of luck, Rams. Your problems stem a lot farther than just your cornerback group. That's for certain. Next one, before we get into Tobi's odds, we have our biggest surprise team of this year and biggest bust. And I'll start this one off. My biggest surprise of the year. There's been a bunch of teams that have really surprised me this year, but I think the one team that has surprised me most through the first 6 weeks of the season has definitely been the Detroit Lions for myself. I got to be honest, I think I might have been the harshest on the Detroit Lions of this group. I don't remember. I didn't go back into the episode to see, but I totally did not see the Lions playing the way they have. They've been so many times where they've been undefeated. They've been in every game this year. It came down to 1 drive against Green Bay, and it came down to 1 drive against Kansas City. I mean, that's impressive. And I mean, I know obviously they tied the Arizona Cardinals in week 1. And then when you look at week 2, they obviously beat the Eagles, and that was or week 3, I'm sorry, they beat the Eagles, which was a tremendous upset, I will admit. And then beating the Lions, that was certainly interesting, but I just got to admit, I did not think they would be as good as they look right now. I know that there's still some time that they got to show, and they obviously have a lot of weaknesses still, but definitely their record, they're still in the mix for the NFC North right now, which I did not think would be a possibility. And my biggest bust so far this year, and it is also a team that the Lions ended up beating week 2, and that's the Chargers. I mean, we all saw it this last week. I know injuries have been an issue, but I mean, injuries have been an issue for everyone. I mean, this isn't a thing where it should be an excuse at this point. Everybody has injuries. You got to and right now, the offense and the defense for this team are just absolutely atrocious. They have no pass rush right now. Well, I can't say that. They have a pass rush, but in regards to sack numbers, they're one of the bottom of the league in sacks right now. And their running attack has just been atrocious since week 2. I mean, they haven't been able to get anything going offensively when it comes to the run game. And I mean, Phillip Rivers just looked out of place against the Steelers. So those are my 2 biggest surprise and biggest bust. Tobi, go ahead with yours.
Yeah, both my biggest surprise and my biggest bust come out of the AFC West for me. Of course, my bust is also the LA Chargers. Like you said, Derek, you pretty much sum all my points up already. We could also talk about the Falcons, how they play right now, but for me is not that big a surprise as the LA Chargers. But my biggest surprise right now, and I might have been a little bit too harsh on them in the preseason, are the Oakland Raiders. When you're looking at the last 2 games that the Raiders played, they actually look like a good football team with a good defense and a decent offense. Derek Carr is kind of coming back to his, I think it was 2015 form when the Raiders last made the playoffs, or if it was, I don't remember if it was 2015 or 16, to be honest. But Also, a lot of help comes from the offensive line with Josh Jacobs also being able to run the ball helps a lot with how Derek Carr can sell the play fake. I don't want to know how this team would have played if that whole Antonio Brown ordeal didn't go down the way it did. With Antonio Brown on the team, I think they would have been even stronger. But yeah, that's my two picks: the Oakland Raiders and the LA Chargers.
Josh?
This is going to sound a little bit biased here, but I think the surprise team would be the Indianapolis Colts for me. And going into this season, we all thought Andrew Luck was going to start, including Jacoby Brissett. But when he retired in the third week of the preseason, that's when everybody and all the Colts fans threw in the towel because, well, there goes our playoff chances right now. But Jacoby Brissett, he's looked really, really good. And keep in mind that offensive line is still healthy and intact.
Yes.
And that's what's helping us. And Marlon Mack is proving that he's worthy of being a starting running back in the league, along with Jordan Wilkins and Naheem Hines. That triple threat of a running back duo, or a trio, I should say, kind of opens up the field more. And, Paris Campbell and Deion Kane, they're still trying to find their way on the team, but they're getting there. The defense, Jonathan Houston, he's showing why we gave him that free agency contract. He's gotten a few sacks here and there. Everything is looking good for this team, and I think that they're going to make it into the playoffs. But the bust for me, let's see. This one was a toss-up, but I'd say that the biggest bust for me right now would have to be, now thinking about it, it's like, are they or are they not? But I'd say that it's the biggest bust for me.
All right.
I don't want to call them a bust, but it's going to be the Cleveland Browns here. And I know that you had all that hype going into it and all. And no, by far, I use bust in the loosest terms because you have no offensive line. You might as well throw some Swiss cheese up there and have that snap the ball to Baker Mayfield. And now I know Baker has to play a lot better, and I hope he does play a lot better because he's supposed to be your franchise guy. You have other people, not naming any names, that are thinking that they would rather have Joe Burrow and start from scratch with a new quarterback. But you got to keep letting Baker Mayfield go and grow. Because you traded Zeitler to the Giants. You didn't know that you were going to have this big of a repercussion, but until they start to get things together, and I know this is their bye week, so they're just going to, everything, all the hype going into the season is just going down the toilet. That's all it is. And it's the only Super Bowl the Browns will ever be in at this rate.
All right. That's our biggest surprises and busts. I actually liked that surprise, Josh. I never even really thought about it until now. Anyways, Tobi, go ahead.
Tobi's odds.
All right, we're coming back to my odds segment. I'm gonna do a quick one this time because we're almost at the 1 hour mark of this podcast. So the first game is the Arizona Cardinals at the New York Giants. The Giants are the favorite by 3 points. I'm picking the Arizona Cardinals with a +3 at the odds of -110. I think even with the Giants probably getting Evan Ingram back this week, probably still without a Saquon Barkley and Sterling Shepard this week, I don't think it's quite enough to beat the Arizona Cardinals right now, and if they beat them, it's not going to be by a lot more than a point or two. The second game is between the San Francisco 49ers at the Washington Redskins. The San Francisco 49ers are the favorite by 9.5 points. I'm also taking the favorite here in the San Francisco 49ers at -110. I just believe with the defensive front, like we talked earlier about, the 49ers are too much for Washington right now, and Washington is not gonna stay anywhere near to being close to winning that game. The third game is between the LA Chargers and the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are actually the favorite by 2 points. Okay. Like Derek already said earlier, Tennessee is probably starting Tannehill again this week. We all Derek and I mentioned the LA Chargers being our bust, but I believe against the Tennessee Titans right now, even at home in Tennessee, the Chargers, I think, are the favorite in this game. And I'm taking the +2 on the LA Chargers at the odds of -110 here. The fourth game is between the New Orleans Saints and the Chicago Bears. The Bears are the favorite by 3 points in this game. I'm taking the Saints here with the +3. The odds are +105, so the actual spread is even more than 3 points in favor of the Bears. The last game right now is between the New England Patriots and the New York Jets. Yeah, the Jets had a great showing last week against the Cowboys, but in Josh's words, it's the Cowboys. Yeah, I'm taking the New England Patriots as the favorites at -9.5 points with the odds of -110. And that's all with the odds right now. Like I said, Arizona, San Francisco, LA Chargers, New Orleans, and the New England Patriots as the spread picks for this week. So we're moving on to our predictions for this week now. And we're starting off with the Thursday night game. I hope I can get this podcast out before this game starts. It's between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll do it. This is a very, very tough game to kind of mention because, again, I know people are probably saying, oh, well, the Chiefs are still easily the better team. Are they right now, though? I mean, I know they faced two decent teams in Texans and the Colts, but I mean, they got exploited in the ways that that teams are going to find ways to do it now. And the Broncos could be that third one. Broncos have been getting pressure on the quarterback. Chiefs' offensive line still hasn't been fully healthy. And teams haven't necessarily ran the ball super great on the Broncos other than what Leonard Fournette did. I know it's in Denver land, but I think the Chiefs still figure out a way to pull this one out. I think they have a bounce-back game. They lose to AFC South opponents. I don't know if they'll lose to an AFC West opponent right now. So give me the Chiefs in this one. And I think it'll be
All right, Josh.
Like I said back in week 11 when we started this podcast last year, I said to Derek, and I quote, the Broncos always have that one game where they're not seen as the favorite, but yet they pull off the win. I'm going to go with the Broncos on this one. I think they can do it.
Well, Josh, sorry to disappoint you. They already had that game against the Chargers 2 weeks ago. But I think that game is close. Like Derek already said, the Chiefs are struggling with injuries right now. But right now, with how the Broncos run the ball, if Philip Lindsay would still run the ball like he did last year, I might pick the Broncos. But as well as Derek just said, I think the Chiefs might have a bounce-back game this week against the Broncos, so I'm also taking the Chiefs. We're moving on to the first game on Sunday. We're not going to have a lot of discussion here. It's between the Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. So, Josh, you go first this time.
Give me the Bills. It's not that hard. I'll go with the Bills.
Yeah, I'm not going to make it any harder also, Bills.
Yep, well, 3, of course, going with the Bills here. We're moving on to the next game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, Josh, go first.
Give me the Jags. The Bengals are trash. So, yeah, I think Gardner Minshew's going to have himself a bounce-back game.
Yeah, I think the same thing. Bengals have had no resistance on defense whatsoever all season. And, I mean, the Jaguars' defense is still pretty good. So, give me the Jags.
Yeah, I'm also going with the Jags here. Like Derek already said, the Bengals are struggling on defense. and the Jags, we saw them play for the last, I think it was 3 weeks or 4 weeks without Jalen Ramsey already, so it doesn't make a difference that they traded him away. Now, the next game is an NFC North matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. Let's see if the Lions get screwed over like they did last week. Derek, go ahead.
Yeah, so the ultimate thing here is, are the Lions able to stop the run game for the Vikings? And the Lions are in the bottom half in yards per game allowed to running backs. And knowing the Vikings, who are the third best rushing attack in the NFL, even with what they're doing against teams in the passing game these last few weeks, still have been able to efficiently run the ball. And I'm sorry, I just don't know if the Lions can really do that right now. And with the way the Vikings look on offense, and I know the Lions have looked pretty good on offense, but again, they still look incomplete at times. And I think Vikings defense has been average to be able to stop. So I'm going with another close one, but I am going with Vikings here.
All right, Josh.
Yeah, I'm saying the Vikings as well. I mean, granted, the defense for the Lions did great against Aaron Jones, but they still let up a lot of rushing yards to their second string running back as well when you really think about it. But yeah, I think I'll take the Vikings on this one.
All right. I'm going on the other side. I'm picking the Lions here. It's gonna be a close game, no doubt about it. But like I said before, the Vikings have a pretty big split between home games and road games. So just because of the fact that they play in Detroit, I'm going with the Lions. The next game up is between the Oakland Raiders and the Green Bay Packers. Derek, go ahead.
Raiders and the Green Bay Packers. Again, another one of those games. This could go either way here, especially with the way Oakland's looked. I mean, they've faced some very good defenses and have risen to the occasion and have figured things out. The Packers still, too, have not been super great against the run. They kind of figured it out in the second half of the Lions team, but they definitely gave up their fair share of good runs in the first half. And I know Devontae Adams most likely will be there again. But again, I think this Packers team is a little bit more complete on both ends than this Bears team was that they played a week ago, even with John Gruden coming off the bye week. I think that the Packers are just, especially in Lambeau, gives them an added advantage. I'm going with the Packers in another really close game here.
All right, Josh.
Yeah, I'll take the Packers on this one. I think they know they got lucky against the Lions, so they're going to start to seal up some of those holes in their defense and the offense as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing to add here. I'm also going with the Packers. Basically the same reasons as you two have already mentioned. The next game, I don't think it's going to be pretty. It's going to be between the LA Rams and the Atlanta Falcons. Josh, go ahead.
Oh, boy. One favors offense over defense, and the other one is just bad. I'll take the Falcons in this one. I think they got more offense than what the defense for the Rams has.
All right.
Rams for me. Look, I know the Rams had the short end of the stick last week. I don't think their offensive line issues is going to be as affected as much by this Falcons defensive line, which is this Falcons defense is the worst defense in all of football right now. Expect the Rams to have a bounce back game. Sure, again, it may not be pretty, but I think the Rams are just better than the Falcons right now. And despite what I said about Jalen Ramsey and this team, even if Jalen Ramsey is able to play, I still think this Rams team will cause a few more interruptions. So, yeah, I'm going with the Rams here, too.
Yeah, I'm also going with the Rams here as well. Derek, you pretty much took the words out of my mouth. You don't need an offensive line when you're not facing a defense. And I think Jalen Ramsey, like you said, I'm pretty sure he's going to play. We don't know yet for sure. But when he's covering Julio Jones, I think that's going to be a great matchup, which I think Jalen Ramsey might be favored in this one. Next up, the big game for you. I already texted with you, Derek, during the week, and we both agreed that it's probably the biggest game for the Colts this year against the Texans at home in Indianapolis. So, guys, go ahead.
Go first, Derek.
Josh, go ahead, please. I insist.
All right. Well, stating the fact that chose the Chiefs to beat the Colts 2 weeks ago, and the Colts won, I'm going to go with the Colts.
All right, he's going with the Colts. I am also going with the Colts here. Every instinct in me is telling me to go the opposite way, but I don't care. I'm going with the Colts here. I'm showing my homer side. I think after a bye week this week, the Colts had a chance to get healthy. They're going to face a defense that most likely will not have two of its best corners. If they are playing, they would be very, very limited. I think this Colts team has a game plan ready to go, and I think they pull off a close one.
Yeah, I'm also going with the Colts here. The biggest thing for me is the offensive line of the Colts. It's perhaps the best offensive line in the game right now, and that's the big point of the Texans the last couple of weeks that made them win their games was the pass rush around J.J. Watt. They got to the quarterback. I don't think it's going to be that easy against the Colts. On the other side of the ball, the Colts are getting back Darius Leonard, and Malik Hooker was also practicing again today. So I think the Texans might have a rough time in Indianapolis this week.
Gotcha.
Coming up to the next game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Washington Redskins. I've already given my prediction here. I'm going with the 49ers. So, Derek, why don't you go first?
Do I even really have to say it? I mean,
No.
It's 49ers. For Lord's sake, yes, please.
Give me the Niners. It's going to be the 49ers.
All right. We're moving on to the last game at 1 p.m. on Sunday. It's between the Arizona Cardinals and the New York Giants. I'm also have given kind of my prediction already with the Arizona Cardinals. Like I said, I'm picking them to win. It's gonna be either or it. The Giants just don't have their entire offense right now, and that's the big thing right now. Kyler Murray's getting more comfortable with the offense in Arizona by now. So I'm going with the Cardinals. Josh, go ahead.
I'll take the Giants on this one. I'm going to run the wild card option here and just say that Saquon's going to run out of the tunnel at halftime like a WWE wrestler. Like, oh my God, it's Saquon! Oh my God, it's Saquon Barkley. He's here.
Saquon's going up the ladder. Oh. All right. Josh, this is one that you and I agree. I'm going with the Giants here also. I think only reason I'm doing it is because I believe Evan Ingram and Saquon Barkley will both be back this week. They're both questionable still, but they said most signs lead to them looking to play. So that's what I think is going to happen. Again, if they don't play, the Cardinals are going to win this, I think. But I just think the Giants have enough. I think I agree with Tobi that the Cardinals have looked a lot more comfortable on the offensive side. I think in New York, I think they're going to figure it out. And I think they'll pull off the close one. So, yeah, give me the Giants.
All right, the 4:05 p.m. game this week is between the LA Chargers and the Tennessee Titans. As well, I've already given my pick. I'm going with the LA Chargers on this one. So, Derek, go ahead.
This is so boring of a game. I mean, the Titans are crap. The Chargers are crap. I mean, these are two teams that after week one, they look like the best teams in football. And now all of a sudden they're two of the worst teams in football. It stinks, but here's my thing here. Ryan Tannehill had a whole week to prepare for what they wanted to do offensively. Again, the issue I'm having is the Chargers defense has not had a consistent pass rush all year, but the Titans have given up the most sacks of any team in the NFL, which is saddening. And here's the difference, though. The Titans actually have a pretty good overall defense. So they've been consistently good in keeping their team in games for a long time. Give me the upset here. I'm going with the Titans.
All right, Josh.
All right. I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers because I'd rather choose a team that's not even playing in this week over these two boring teams that just can't do anything else. But I guess by the rules of picking, I have to go with a team. So, gosh, they're both ass. They're just straight ass. There's just nothing to these teams. This is going to be the hardest pick of the time. I'm telling you. So I'm going to go with the Chargers. Give me the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Chargers.
All right.
All right.
The next game up is between the New Orleans Saints and the Chicago Bears. As well, my pick were the Saints. Guys, go ahead.
Josh, go ahead.
This is another. So I'm gonna. You tell you what. I'm gonna go with the Bears on this one. I'm gonna go with the Bears on this.
Okay.
Yeah, go with the Bears.
All
That
right.
defense, man.
Tobi, I think the Saints take a little bit of time this week to rewatch last week's game and what the Raiders did to destroy that offense or that defense of the Bears. And if the Raiders can do it, I definitely think the Saints can do it. Even if they're not fully healthy, I still think this team overall is in a much better spot than it was a month ago. So give me the Saints on this one also.
All right. We're coming up to the last game at 4 p.m. It's between the Ravens and the Seattle Seahawks. And yeah, Derek, you go first this time.
Ironically, this is the only game that I didn't have my prediction until now. I don't even know who to pick because the issue I'm having is the Ravens are one of the best the best team in football at running, and it's mainly because of Lamar Jackson. Well, the thing is, the Seahawks are one of the worst teams in football in stopping the run. Quarterbacks that are mobile have definitely done a great job of running the ball against Seattle. That's been an issue, and I don't know. This one's so tough. You know what? Just because the Ravens are a slightly better defense, I think overall than the Seahawks, I'm going with the upset. I'm going with the upset. Ravens over the Seahawks. Give me that one.
All right, Josh.
For me, this one was easy. I was going to go with the Seahawks because you got Russell, the Money Wilson going on here. He's playing like he's on fire. He's got no picks. He's
don't take my lines. Don't take my lines, okay? I already mentioned that MVP voting from earlier this last week. All right, don't make me second guess myself.
All right, I'm also going with the Seahawks mainly, as well as Josh said, the passing attack of the Seahawks. I believe the backfield or the defensive backfield of the Ravens right now is just too weak against Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Even acquiring Marcus Peters, it's not going to change anything just right now. It might not change anything ever, but it's gonna take time. It's not gonna be a thing that's gonna just bloom in the first week he's gonna play. So the last game on Sunday, the Sunday night game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. Josh, you had such a good presentation of the Cowboys game last week. So why don't you start us off?
Oh boy. So Carson Wentz is looking like he's been overpaid too much. But Dak Prescott looks like he doesn't deserve to get paid at all. So it's the battle of overpaying and not even paying. But I'd say that I'm going Eagles on this one. Give me the Eagles.
All right.
Tobi, please go first before me.
Yeah. What happened to the Cowboys? They looked like one of the best offenses in the league in the first, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks. And right now, they just can't do anything. I know I wasn't high on the Eagles in the offseason, but right now, the Cowboys are just not convincing enough for me. So I'm also going with the Eagles in this game.
You guys persuaded me. I originally had the Cowboys. You know, the Eagles are the second best rushing defense in all of the NFL so far this year. And we've seen it. If you make Dak Prescott beat you, half the time he's not. And I know the Eagles had a really bad week, but I don't think this passing attack for the Cowboys is as prolific as the Vikings right now. And even on the road, he convinced me the Eagles as well.
All right, so we're coming to the last game, Monday Night Football. It's between the New England Patriots and the surprising New York Jets. Josh, give us your thoughts on the Jets.
Well, I'll not just give my thoughts. I waited 2 weeks for this. So I'm going to invite on to our special guest here that I picked up off the side of the highway in Findlay at the Antique Mall. And since it's October as well, Skeletor.
Oh my gosh. That's what you told me you were putting out for this for last weekend? Oh, come on, bro.
Oh yeah, it's Skeletor. And you know what he says?
What?
Yeah, the New England Patriots, He-Man. I'll take the Patriots, He-Man. Yes.
All right. Yeah, since Derek is not capable of talking right now, I think I already gave my pick in the Patriots right now. And Derek is still dying of laughter. But Derek, please try and give us your pick for this week.
Hold on, I'm going to try and do it the opposite way here. If you can't say what that one is, then I think you... I don't know if I can say it any better than Skeletor. Patriots, please.
All right. So that's our pick for or picks for this week, and I'm gonna hand it back up to Derek. Are you able to talk again?
Yeah, I'm fine. Josh, you made this such a remarkable episode. I love it, dude. I cannot wait for Tobi to release this audio tonight, and I'm gonna listen to it on repeat. I can't wait. Anyway, thank you guys so much again. We really appreciate you. That's it for this episode of the podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at T3DS_NFL. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to keep telling us what we can do to improve our channel. And as always, guys, peace.
See ya.
Later.